WHSV TV3 News at 5 begins now with breaking news.
And we start tonight with that breaking news concerning the James Madison football team. Good evening, I'm John Rogers.
And I'm Nina Barati. Thank you for joining us. And joining us now with more information is Sports Director TJ Eck. TJ.
Thanks, John and Nina. Yeah, it's been quite an eventful afternoon for the JMU football program. So let's give you a little timeline of how things have kind of unfolded throughout this afternoon. So earlier this afternoon, Bruce Feldman, a reporter with The Athletic, a college football national reporter, tweeted out that JMU's Mike Houston, the head coach here for the Dukes, would be leaving to take the job at Charlotte. So that prompted us to reach out to JMU Athletics about that news. And we have not gotten confirmation or denial about that. Feldman reporting that based on sources that he had. However, we have been told just recently that Houston will be made available to speak to us, the media, here after the Dukes finish up practice, which is going on right now just behind me at Bridgeforth Stadium. So to recap so far what has happened this afternoon, a report from Bruce Feldman with The Athletic, a college football national reporter, citing his sources, said that James Madison's Mike Houston will be heading to Charlotte to take the head job there. So we again reached out to JMU Athletics. No confirmation or denial. However, we have been told again that Mike Houston will be made available to speak to us, the media, here following JMU's practice, which is going on right now inside Bridgeforth Stadium. So Houston has had such great success here in his time at JMU, taking the Dukes to back-to-back national championship games. They're preparing for a second-round playoff game at Colgate this coming Saturday as well. So hopefully we'll get clarification on this situation coming up here in just a little bit. We're expecting Houston to address us maybe around 6 p.m. Later this evening. We'll obviously keep you updated throughout the night. Reporting live from outside Bridgeforth Stadium, TJ Eck, WHSV.
The search continues for a 12-year-old missing girl and her grandmother.
We begin with team coverage.
And an Amber Alert remains in effect in Harrisonburg.
Police are still looking for Elizabeth Rodriguez Rubio and Angie Carolina Rodriguez.
Johnny Oliver joins us live in Harrisonburg first.
Nina and Bob, this is where Elizabeth and Angie were last seen at Dukes Plaza in Harrisonburg. Now, police tell us today that as of yesterday, the search has changed. Harrisonburg Police Department is now using a different method to search for Elizabeth and Angie. They are using a bird's eye view. They're using drones to do so. The Harrisonburg Police Department and the Harrisonburg Fire Department are trained to search using drones, and now they are, along with other law enforcement departments and canine dogs. Members of the public can expect to see an increased presence from law enforcement throughout the community. And a source tells WHSV that police are searching for the two missing people in Rockingham and Orange counties. Family was expecting the suspect to take the two women to Maryland on Sunday, but they never arrived there. Police began looking for them on Tuesday, and the search is still on. The Harrisonburg Police Department told me earlier today they've received more than a dozen tips related to this case, and they are investigating all of them. And the family is helping with this search. And for that, I'm going to send it over to WHSV's Hannah Hall. Hannah?
Thanks, Johnny. Family and friends tell us they've been passing out flyers in the area, hoping that someone may have seen Elizabeth or Angie. The family is passing out flyers in towns around Harrisonburg and in the Northern Virginia area since Elizabeth and Angie never made it to their home in Maryland. Elizabeth's son, David Barrero, tells us that they started to worry about Elizabeth and Angie after Elizabeth didn't answer her phone.
There was no signs of her actually coming to the house. The door was locked. She didn't pick up the phone.
Barrero says the family will continue to pass out flyers in the area this weekend. Barrero also says that he encourages anyone that may have information to call the police. He says even if you think it's small, it may help police find Elizabeth and Angie. Reporting live in Harrisonburg, Hannah Hall, WHSV.
Thank you, Hannah, for staying on top of this story, and Johnny as well.
And we'll be continuing to follow this case as police uncover more information about the missing girl and her grandmother. Stay tuned tonight at 10 on the Valley's Fox and always online at WHSV.com.
Snow falling in much of the valley on this Sunday, covering the ground and also those roads. Good evening, I'm Jared Klein. Thank you for joining us as we begin with this winter weather impacting the end of our weekend. In just a few minutes, we'll get a check on the road conditions. WHSV's Hannah Hall and John Hood are standing by. But first, let's send things over to Chief Meteorologist Aubrey Urbanowitz. Aubrey, depending on where you live, you'll probably be seeing a completely different scene outside your window right now.
Very much. We knew this was going to be a tough one. We knew this was not going to be something we would nail the forecast on because there was going to be such a tight gradient, and we're on the northern edge of this. And it even overperformed in some areas, which is honestly not surprising. We told you to be prepared to not see snow and see several inches of snow, and some have actually many inches of snow. So we actually have the boundary, which I've been watching it all day. Earlier, it was about to Newmarket, then it was to Quicksburg. Now it's basically between Quicksburg and Mount Jackson. Woodstock has 0 snow. And I know some of you are going, you're kidding me. Nope, that's exactly the tight gradient that we are looking at. I want to show you some of these snowfall amounts. No snow north of Mount Jackson, an inch in Timberville, 2.3 in Harrisonburg, 4.8 at the airport in Weir's Cave, 8 inches in Stanton, almost 8 inches in Waynesboro, 12 inches in Wintergreen, and many other amounts coming in southern Augusta County, over 8 to 10 inches, about 3.5 in Sugar Grove. So you can see when the gradient and the edge of the storm sits right over the area, this is exactly what we have, a difference of several inches in a very short span, a very short distance.
Election day is here. Months of campaigning all comes down to the final hours before polls close. WHSV team coverage of what to expect tonight starts now.
And good evening, everyone. I'm John Rogers.
And I'm Nina Barati. Thank you for joining us.
Well, a busy election day, and we have you covered tonight starting right here at 5 over the next hour. A look at the last moments of the 2018 election campaign. We'll take you live to the campaigns for the races that affect the valley.
And a look at turnout at the polls and expert analysis about what it all means going into tonight. We begin at the polls.
That's where we find WHSV's Johnny Oliver. He's joining us live from the Lucy Sims Center in Harrisonburg. Johnny, good evening.
Well, John, election officials across Harrisonburg tell me that it was a big morning for voter turnout, and after the morning ended, quieter times in years past, there was still a bigger crowd than expected, and still a post-work rush to go after people get off around 5 p.m. Now, so far, election officials across Harrisonburg tell me they expected a high turnout today, but has been even busier than expected. As of 3 p.m. today, already 8,239 people have voted in Harrisonburg. That was about 31% of registered voters, which as of 3 p.m. already a larger percentage than in 2014, the last midterm election, when Harrisonburg throughout the whole day only reached about 30%. Now, the polls do close at 7 p.m., but as long as you are in line by 7, you will still be able to vote. And now I'm going to send it back to you all in the studio, reporting live in Harrisonburg. Johnny Oliver, WHSV.
All right. Thank you, Johnny.
Well, now to Virginia's Senate race. We begin with that right now.
And that's the campaign orders for Tim Kaine in his re-election bid against Republican Corey Stewart. Joe Deschelle is following the Kaine campaign in Falls Church.
We're here in the ballroom of a Marriott hotel in Falls Church, where Democrats will gather to watch the returns later tonight. Now, Senator Tim Kaine started his day in the Richmond area, voting with his wife Ann Holton at their home precinct there. Kaine did some radio interviews before working the polls around Richmond, and perhaps in one measure of his confidence, we're told he went to the grocery store and did some shopping today as well. We have heard some anecdotal reports of long lines and strong turnout in Democratic areas, including here in Northern Virginia. And a member of the senator's campaign staff told me they're encouraged by what they see today, especially among young voters and African Americans. Kaine is on his way to Northern Virginia, where he will gather with Democratic leaders, including Governor Ralph Northam and Senator Mark Warner. And it's here where he hopes to celebrate his re-election to the U.S. Senate. In Falls Church, Joe Deschelle, WHSV.
Yeah, thank you, Joe. The Stewart campaign also getting together tonight in Northern Virginia.
Sarah Mackey is following the Republican candidate in Woodbridge, Virginia.
The president has not joined Corey Stewart on the campaign trail, but he has supported him in other ways, namely the president's favorite outlet, on Twitter. We have a congratulatory message that the president sent out shortly after Stewart was able to wrap up the nomination in this race. He said, quote, "Congratulations to Corey Stewart for his great victory for Senator from Virginia. Now he runs against a total stiff, Tim Kaine, who is weak on crime and borders and wants to raise your taxes through the roof. Don't underestimate Corey, a major chance of winning." The president also retweeted Stewart about 3 times in early September. The two men do have history together. Stewart was the Trump for Virginia chairperson until he led a protest outside the RNC headquarters just about 3 weeks before the general election in 2016. At the time, he said he knew it was a move that would cost him his job inside of that campaign, but he felt it was the right thing to do because, as he saw it, the RNC was not doing enough to adequately support the man who would become president. Since then, Corey Stewart has continued to be a firebrand supporter of the president, and we will continue to hear from him later tonight after the votes start to roll in. In Woodbridge, Sarah Maki, WHSV.
Sarah, thank you. And here in the Valley, voters are choosing who will represent them in the U.S. House.
State Delegate Ben Klein looking to follow in the footsteps of Bob Goodlatte. WHSV's Jared Klein is live in Roanoke, where the Republicans are gathering tonight in Virginia's 6th District. Jared.
Good evening, John and Nina. Republicans will watch the results come in here at the Holiday Inn in Roanoke tonight. And Ben Klein is the front runner in this race. Of course, independent analysts are expecting him to win. He is running against Jennifer Lewis, a Waynesboro mental health worker. Now, Klein's campaign message has been to fix a Washington he says does not work for the average American. If you remember, his nomination came after some drama among Republicans in the 6th District. Klein ultimately won the chance to run during a convention back in May. And the man himself, Bob Goodlatte, is expected to be here tonight. He has won the district since 1992, so obviously Klein is hoping for a similar result tonight. I'll be here throughout the night with the results as they come in. John and Nina, I'll send it back to you in the studio. Live in Roanoke, Jared Klein, WHSV.
All right, thank you, Jared.
And of course, Klein facing Democrat Jennifer Lewis.
And WHSV's Matthew Foltz is following her throughout the district as she campaigns in the final hours.
Matthew.
Well, it's a part of everyday life for many here in the Valley, and there's a new poll out on fixes people would like to see along Interstate 81.
It comes after the General Assembly ordered a study from VDOT on possible improvements. WHSV's Jared Klein joins us here to break down those results. Jared.
Hey, John and Nina, Public Opinion Strategies asked people living along the I-81 corridor to give the roadway a grade from A to F. And not so surprisingly, a majority gave it a C or below. The average was a D minus. Now, here are some other findings. A majority say they feel unsafe on Interstate 81. And as far as paying for those improvements, 88% favor a $2 billion investment in improvements recommended by VDOT. The most popular way to pay for it would be putting tolls on tractor trailers. But if a tax increase is necessary, 61% still favor making those improvements. And as you know, any money used would need to be approved by state lawmakers.
One of the things that we're trying to determine is which of the sources, one, has public support, and obviously the poll showed kind of what people's preferences are on that, and then two, how much are those sources going to generate to take care of the $2 billion problem that VDOT is proposing.
In addition to the research firm, the Virginia Transportation Construction Alliance was behind the poll. Its executive vice president says the group favors a $2 billion investment. State lawmakers will consider the results of VDOT's analysis this past year in their upcoming session.
All right, a lot of people keeping an eye on I-81.
All right, thank you, Jared.
The search continues for a 12-year-old missing girl and her grandmother.
We begin with team coverage.
And the family is helping with this search. And for that, I'm going to send it over to WHSV's Hannah Hall. Hannah?
Thanks, Johnny. Family and friends tell us they've been passing out flyers in the area.
And it even overperformed in some areas, which is honestly not surprising. We told you to be prepared to not see snow and see several inches of snow. And some have actually many inches of snow.
Election day is here.
Tonight, starting right here at 5 over the next hour, a look at the last moments of the 2018 election campaign. We'll take you live to the campaigns for the races that affect the Valley.
Well, John, election officials across Harrisonburg tell me that it was a big morning for voter turnout.
Good evening, John and Nina. Republicans will watch the results come in here at the Holiday Inn in Roanoke tonight, and Ben Klein is the front runner in this race.
No confirmation or denial. However, we have been told again that Mike Houston will be made available to speak to us, the media here, following JMU's practice, which is going on right
John,
now.
If you take a look at this map, you can see right here, Virginia is one of 9 states with moderate flu activity.